All right, this is Parashat Shemot. Yeah. Parashat Shemot. So in Brit Ben HaBetarim, this is a very peculiar parasha. There's a lot of good things that are happening there. However, in Brit Ben HaBetarim, Kadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu the following: Yado ateda ki ger yeh zaracha be'eretz lo lahem va'avdu ve'inurutam 400 shana. You should know that your offspring, your children, and so on and so forth, are going to be foreigners, resident alien in a country that's not going to be theirs, and they're going to work them hard, and then they're going to really slave them for a period of about 400 years. And after 400 years, it says in our parasha the following: Vayar Elohim et bnei Yisrael vayeda Elohim. Vayeda, that we have over there, is what we says keneged, or against yado ateda, you should know. The Shiabut Mitzrayim, the oppression that the Jews had experienced in Mitzrayim, the birth of Moshe, his childhood of Moshe, his escape to Midian. Midian is, according to most people, associated today with what is so-called Saudi Arabia, Midian, Medina, this whole area over there. The revelation of the burning bush and sending him to Paro, the way how he stood with Aharon, his brother, in front of Paro, and the first spark of redemption from this oppression of Egypt. All these beautiful things, Yado Ateda, you should know, all these things are mentioned in our week's parasha. So every topic is enough to make a mini-series out of it, believe me. There's so much stuff there. So there are a lot of things there. Which one are we going to talk about those things? Which one would you like me to talk about from what I mentioned so far? All right, anything? Yossi? Guys, nothing? Okay. So I'm going to talk about none of the above. None of the above. Why? Why, Yoav? So I feel like it. Take your jacket, feel comfortable. However, we are going to talk about something very important here. We're going to look at only 3 words in this week's parasha. I mean, we'll look at other things, but the focal point is the 3 words in this week's parasha that maybe are the most important 3 words in Jewish theology and understanding what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all about. And that is the words Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. How did you know? Did I say it before? No, I didn't say it before. What does it mean, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh? Huh? I shall be as I should be. I shall be what I should be. Okay, but that's very nice, but you miss a lot in the translation into English from that. And of course, the 2 psukim after that, when Moshe is asking and it says, "V'amru li," what is his name? So what should I say to them? So he's asking those questions which are dealing all with recognizing God. And the answer that was given to him is, I shall be what I shall be. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. There are countless of explanations to these fantastic words that Moshe Rabbeinu is saying there. And there are endless opinions and other thoughts that go, and sometimes they are completely not corresponding with each other, completely opposing each other in regarding those 3 words, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. But let's look at this, why I should be what I should be. Why is it not so accurate? You have to admit that the words those words, Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, is really really derives from the Hebrew root of Haya, Hey, Yud, Hey. Haya refers to a reality of something that is or was. And Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh is the reality of the truth, which is basically the essence of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all about. And it's the first time that it's referring to it in such a way. Even if you look at what the Rambam is saying, the Rambam says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what? That the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what? Matsui Emet. He is present and he is the truth. And Moshe Rabbeinu understands and recognizes the validity of his presence and the truthfulness of the presence of God in the world. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu referred to him like that. Which is quite interesting because right after that, it says to Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ko tomar levnei Yisrael, that what you should say to the Jews, Ehyeh shelachani elechem, Ehyeh send me to you. Vayomor od Elohim el Moshe, Ko tomar levnei Yisrael, then he says further, so he said to them, tell them, Ehyeh sent me, and then you should further tell them, Hashem Elokei Avotechem, who Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Shelachani Elech, the God of your father sent me to you. And then he says, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov sent me to you. And it says, Zeh Shmi Leolam, this is my name forever, V'zeh Zichri Ledor Vador, and this is my commemoration for generations to come. And he says twice, Ko tomar levnei Yisrael. This is how you should say to Bnei Yisrael. So it seems like that we're missing something, because in between the first one, Ko tomar, and then the second Ko tomar, Moshe Rabbeinu is not asking anything else. He just says, what should I say? And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, you should tell him this, and then you should tell him the other one. You should tell him, Ehyeh sent me, and then you should tell him the God of your forefathers, etc., etc., etc. But Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say anything in between. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying that? We have a similar case in other places, but I'm not going to reveal the secret now. Well, later. Recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is the divine himself, by himself, without any kind of a connection or interaction to any kind of functioning in which we attribute to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is what Moshe got. Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I should be what I should be. That's what it is. I am God, period. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu recognizes HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that there is a God there. Remember, we were talking about this a few days ago, Gabby. Remember, I think we were talking to you. What happened before time and space and this and that and so on and so forth? That's very simple. There was just God, and there is God, and there will be God, way after we're all gone, and way before this whole universe was created. And that's how that's how Moshe Rabbeinu recognized HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We recognize in him that he is God, period. And immediately after that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him another answer. If they would ask you, there's another answer that he says to them, and that's what he should say to Bnei Israel, is why? Because recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the aspect of his divinity, from the fact that he is divine, that he is God, is a very, very, very difficult thing to do. That God is a very difficult thing to do. That is a level that maybe very few people can reach within not only their lifetime, within generations. There aren't so many people who have this ability to recognize that. Most of the people who believe in God, and I'm saying here something that is quite controversial, most of the people who believe in God and do believe in God, having a hard time grasping and understanding the belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu as it should be, but rather in a functioning in which they attribute it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What do I mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us this, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us this, and He takes away from this, and He punishes for that, and He wants from us to say. It's the only functioning in which we attribute it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Very few people understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu because He is it. He is God. Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense what I'm trying to tell you. We always refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu based on the functioning in which we attribute it to Him. Whether it's their destiny, personal destiny, whether it's the destiny of the nation, or the world, or the universe, or from the fact that He's just Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. However, and you'll see from this, when we start praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't start Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak. That's not how we start. We start Hashem, whoever you are. Sfatai tiftach, Hashem. Then the same thing as we do here. Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Which is we have to understand that the belief in Hashem, from its depth of understanding what God is all about, is sometimes gets distorted. However, in the depth of Jewish theology concept of what God is all about, what we call emunah tmima, a simple emunah, that He is Hashem. That's how it stems from. However, it's very difficult for us to accept this emunah tmima, and as a result of that, there's a lot of tension that is happening when we develop certain expectations from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and He's giving us, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blah, and then we take it and we throw it away, and we say, okay, I don't believe in God, goodbye and good luck, and so on and so forth. But that's not understanding what God is all about. This is all referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu based on what you had decided that you're going to apply to Him. What you want from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what it is. But that's not what God is all about. You need to understand that God is almost like lehavdil, don't get me wrong, like an axiom. It's not something that you define, it's just it. So why is that? I mean, if you look, for example, in the Siddur, in some of the early brachot of the Siddur, we have Atau ad shelo nivra olam, Atau mishen nivra olam. You were God before the world was created, and you are God after the world was created. And this is understanding that recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu has nothing to do with this world, or has nothing to do with what we need or what we want. We need to understand that there is God, and period. There's nothing else after that. But again, which is very difficult. And that's why it says to Moshe, it says, even though you should tell him, God sent me to you, but if they're not going to understand that, then you're going to say to them, Elokei Avotechem, the God of your fathers, and then He's going to specify even further, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. In other words, the God in which you recognize, when He tells them that, in which the God which you recognize that according to your expectations, that's the God who actually sent me to you. Not the God of the just world, the one in which you expected to send it to you, based that He was the fact of the God of your parents, and so on and so forth, and which is a very I wouldn't say very, but it's a much lower level than recognizing that God is God. And when you recognize that, there's not a problem. That's a person that recognizes this is a person that lives life of what we call a mystic, or we call a person like this an enlightened person, when he understands that as much that he is not the entity, but rather he is a part of everything out there, the experience of all. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in him as much as he is on a rock, or on a tree, or in the other person, and so on and so forth. And recognizing that is a very difficult thing to do. It sounds like Cherokee singing, like Navajo, I don't know what that. I'm really serious. Like they're getting into ecstasy with tranquilo. It's very difficult to keep a straight face with this, yes. Anyway, and this is the great definition, and the most the great definition in which we could assume that there is out there, which is very fundamental to understand that it really exists with what we call Jewish belief. That there are two levels. And those two levels of understanding God at that level, and understanding God as a function, as an entity, or the creator that is there to supply your needs, believe it or not, are both valid in Judaism. And how do I know that? That's what we said, the secret I tell you beforehand. When we say Kriyat Shema, right? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That's it. God is one. Period. That's it. Not the master of the universe. God is God and is one, period. And then we says, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך, בכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, and you should love God with all your heart, etc., 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 על מזוזות ביתך ושעריך, period. No reward, no punishment, a simple interaction of me as an individual in front of God, because He is God and I'm His creation. That's it. After that, that's for a very high level. That's when you do things lishma, for the sake of things. After that, if you are not capable to do that, to be able to see the unity, the oneness of God in you and in the world, and as God is God, okay, so then you're going to go to a different level of interaction. If you would listen to all the words I said, we'll give you rain, and so on and so forth, and if not, whack, 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 etc., etc., etc. It's a different level of interaction. That's already reward and punishment. And again, which I said to you a million times, if comes God now to each and every one of us in this mystical experience and tells us, guys, there is no, close the door a little faster because the Navajos are coming down the block. Actually, it sounds like more like Apaches or maybe Comanches. Anyway, back to what we were saying. In terms of understanding what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is all about, it's a lower level of interaction. It's a lower level of interaction that if you don't understand, whack, 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 but however, it's just as valid. It's okay. So what I'm trying to tell you here, and that's what we say all the time, and when you see it later on in the Gemara, when the Gemara says, "Bitoch shelo lishma lavo lishma," you might say, only if you're able to worship or to interact. I don't want to say the word worship because it sounds like, if you're able to interact with God in that divine and superior and mystical level, good. If not, don't do it. Chazal told us absolutely not. Based on this parasha, based on those things, it's okay, we understand. It's okay, mitoch shelo lishma, for not for the sake of it, yavo lishma. But it doesn't make a difference. What is important is to be involved in that relationship. Even if it's a relationship that God serves a function in your life and no more than that. As for this, He gives it to me, I do good, He doesn't give it to me, and so on and so forth. On a different level, it's like I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's it. And if God will come and tell us there is no more olam haba to any of us, only here would any of us do the mitzvot, would any of us keep the mitzvot, would anybody of us will keep Shabbat, or prevent from murdering or raping or doing all these horrible things, because so-called there's no reward and punishment. The answer is most likely many people won't. Those who believe in God because He is God and He asked me to do it, and I'm not doing this to get a reward, I'm just doing it because He is God, would continue doing and living the way they are. Because it doesn't make a difference to you. The reward and punishment, you're not doing so because reward or punishment, even though most people do. But that's not the level to interact. And that's Moshe Rabbeinu understood that. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the fact, I am God, period. I am. I was, I will, I am, I will be. It's not what, as you said, should have been, would have been, could have been, whatever been. I am. I am what I am. I am what I am. I was, am, and will be. And this is also, listen, this is also okay, and you should not look down at people because it's a very difficult thing. You need to have a real powerful, abstract mind that would be able to think and to understand such concepts. This is a very difficult thing to do, especially since our society, based all on rewards, and we like Pavlov dogs, like we all are dogs in terms of that. We want rewards for anything. We don't, that's why very few people volunteer. And even those who volunteer from their time, they also want a certain acknowledgement. Ooh, they give him a title. Ooh, he's a big, got a word for volunteering and so on. Yeah, he feels good. Even that. How many people will do the right thing because that's the right thing to do? Why it's the right thing to do? Because that's what God tells us to do. No questions asked. It's not a robot. A person like this, you might say he's a robot. I'm going to tell you absolutely not. A person like this is very keen, very sharp, very understanding, very aware of what is happening around him and where he is in the world. Because otherwise, if you weren't that kind of like super situational aware person, you would not be able to understand that, because you need to understand that everything is God. There's a divine spark in anything in the world as much as there is in you. So therefore, when I see this bookcase, and I'm able to extend myself, my feeling to that, or my emotion to that, so I see myself as that. That's why I won't destroy it. For example, Sam just drank water, right? Right now, do you feel the water? You don't feel the water, right? You drink the water, you don't feel the water. However, when you drink the water, all of a sudden the water becomes a part of you. And now you understand and you appreciate the water. However, the only reason why you couldn't do it before, because there was a distance between you and the water. However, if you'll be able to close this gap between you and the water, you'll be able to experience what the water is in a way without even tasting it. The reason why we don't have what the Torah tells us, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, Am Yisrael is one, is to understand, to feel, to close the gap between us individuals. So we should feel the pain of another person. I'll tell you the truth. You would go to a funeral, you'll go to a wedding, at the end, maybe in the act, in the middle, it will be the same thing. I mean, it will be a little different. This one a little crying, this one is like this. But after they walk out of it, 5 minutes later, everybody's the same thing. You could not tell if that person walked out of the funeral or that person walked out of the wedding. You don't see there's something you don't see. You see people happier coming out from not having like a 32-ounce steak than they are coming in to pray. And the reason why is that, because right now they consume the steak, and the steak is a part of them, and they're happy. However, when they come into the shul, they come into the temple to pray, they don't feel, because they continue having this gap between them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, within them and the place. And they don't feel anything. And who do they blame? They blame the rabbi, the chazan, the building, the atmosphere, the AC, the butler, whoever they're going to complain. They're going to blame, besides blaming themselves, because they are the ones who left this gap and did not feel this like that. And that's what we have to understand. Whatever you hate, don't do to your friend, because you should understand that. You should feel him. When somebody is grieving, you should feel his pain. When somebody is happy, you should feel the joy. But we don't do it. We're superficial. And therefore our Avodat Hashem interaction with God is superficial. We need to close the gap. And we don't have it. And we're selfish brats. Completely selfish. And the interaction with God is also selfish. Give me. But you don't give me, guess what? I'm not keeping Shabbat anymore. You know what? I'm tired of you, God. I'm just tired of this. I've been trying very hard. I'm trying so hard. And I'm asking you, and I'm asking, you're not giving me. What kind of a thing is that? Guess what? I'm not keeping Shabbat anymore. I'm stepping out of faith. I'm not putting tefillin. I'm not getting up in the morning. That's it. What kind of a thing is that? You're coming to pray. You have a date with God. You have a date. You come late, you fall asleep. Hey, look, if you guys going to go on a date like this with a lady, let me tell you, I don't think you have a chance dating a donkey after that. Right, yo? You have to feel the person. I mean, of course, not physically, spiritually, feel the person. You have to understand who the person is. You're trying to bridge the gap. Well, there's no greater concept than that, than when a husband and wife. They became one place, they became one flesh. And that's the love that there is between a husband and wife. That oneness, that removing of selfishness and gaps. We want to be one. And that's why you need to love your wife more than you love yourself. Because she's your wife, she's you. And that's how we interact. But it's not good. So therefore, of course, if the Torah was matiras, if the Torah was materials, the Torah permitted us to do so, so we could really do so. We could really do so, and there's not a problem. There's absolutely not a problem. You have another banner?
Yeah, put a new one though.
Maybe you put a used one, so throw the other one in the garbage. So on that, if we talk about the time, hurry up. Chop. Cheerios. I don't know what they call Cheerios. You have to wait a second. We got to do a battery change. Oh, got a battery change. Now, while it comes out. It's okay. You hear it from there. You come to see it further, that when Moshe covered his face, it says why? Ki yareh mi hebit elai Elokim. He was afraid. Later on, when he put the cover, when he came from the mountain, he put the cover because he was afraid. Yareh mi hebit elai Elokim. What does it mean? It's fascinating, and this is after Moshe. But the Torah says that Moshe spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu panim el panim, face to face. He said he was afraid talking to him, so he put a cover on his face. And it says also, "V'tmunat Hashem yabit," and in a way, there's no contradiction between the two. Why? Because "tmunat Hashem yabit" refers to the truthful and real recognition of what God is in the world. And Dafka, specifically, that recognition that person cannot recognize and understand what God is all about. Only when you come to realize this, after you reach this high level, that's when Moshe hid his face. Why? Because he recognized God. He grasped it to such a high level, which is, if you look at Rashi over there, which Rashi said it in a very, very sharp way. It says, in a way that really shows what real emunah is all about, or complete emunah. What the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Kol HaNevi'im, all the prophets, istaklu bespaklaria me'era. Let's call it this way. They looked at a reflective mirror. Okay? I'm sorry. Kol HaNevi'im istaklu bespaklaria she'ina me'era. A non-reflective mirror, right? ומשה רבנו נסתכל באספקלריה מהירה. He looked, he saw it clear, no problem. Everybody saw a reflection. If we look at it like this, everybody was able to contemplate on a reflection that came through several screens. Moshe saw it wide open. And they saw, וחשבו שראו אותו. They saw a reflection and they thought they saw him. Moshe Rabbeinu, because it says דמות Hashem and Hashem יושב על כיסא and so on and so forth. Moshe Rabbeinu looked at the Aspaklaraya Meira. He looked at this, at the sight the way it was, and he understood שלא ראו בפניו, that he actually didn't see anything. This is recognizing God. And this is why he covered his face. This is an unbelievable level of closeness to Hashem. In a way, there is a certain thing to it as well, to ourselves. When many times you think you know somebody really, really well, Havdil, right? Your person really, really well. You're never going to know this person really, really well. Everybody has secrets and thoughts that regardless of what it is, you're never going to be able to penetrate what goes in somebody's mind and what he was thinking and what he is thinking and what he will do and so. And that's when you think you know a person. You can live with somebody for 50 years and they're not realizing that this person is completely different than what you thought he is. Moshe Rabbeinu saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu without any doubt. He saw him to a level, he saw him seeing and understanding. It's not something that you see with your eyes. It's something that you see with your neshama. The eyes, the body, by the way, the body is what gives us that separation of the distance. So it's not something you see with your eyes. He got this overwhelming feeling of understanding what this is all about. When you come to that level, you understand how great he is, and you understand that you haven't seen a thing yet. And it's like a person that says, I know the Gemara. I know it, I don't need to do it again. You don't know it. There are certain Gemarot you learn 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times, and every single time you learn it, you find something new. It's like a miracle. It's a miracle. It's like a diamond that is shining with endless amount of sparkle, and every time it would look different, and you can't tell how many sparkles does the diamond produce. Endless. The Torah is much greater than that. We have some time? No, we don't have some time. When we will do this, we'll do this tomorrow. Okay, we'll see. I don't know what we do. Maybe we'll be a little late in davening. Do you mind? You don't mind, right? You don't mind. I don't mind either. All right. So, and that comes to an interaction that we have in the situation that we have today. Am Yisrael went to Galut. Am Yisrael went to Galut in Mitzrayim as well. And I told you this a million times. Galut is a state of mind. Exile, being in Galut, is a state of mind. It's not necessarily a territorial or physical location or state of mind. It's a mental state of mind. And I told you this many times. You can live in Eretz Israel and still mentally experience exile and removedness from the source. For example, anybody that speaks anything by Hebrew in Eretz Israel, that holds to exile minhagim in Eretz Israel, is still in exile in Eretz Israel. Anybody who is not experiencing religious life in Israel is in exile, even though he thinks he's free, he's actually in exile, because he's removed from that. The whole exile is removing you from the source, so you can actually be there and be removed. A person could be completely free in his physical body, but he could be completely imprisoned in the jail of negative thoughts, of fashionable trends, and so on and so forth, of fears and frustrations, and so on. There are people who can drive Jaguars and Mercedes and you name it, whatever is out there, and they live in big villas and mansions and on and on and on, that they have beautiful families and beautiful wives and they have good health and so on, and still they are captured within despair and sadness, and every little thing that happens not according to the plan breaks their spirits and they're devastated and so on and so forth. Many people like that. That comes from what we said beforehand, with your expectations of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu should do to you. Every morning, when we say Modeh Ani Lefanecha, to many people we're saying, and what have you done for me, baby? It's not, I forgot, some smart man said that. It's not what Hashem can do for you, is what you can do for Him. Right? Who said that? Roosevelt. JFK. No, he didn't say that. No, he didn't say that. He said about America. I said that. And you see on the other hand, you see people that really are imprisoned in the body, and they're in jail and they're in shackles and so on and so forth, and the spirit is completely free, and you cannot imprison their spirit. And the spirit is like wild birds out there, like wild horses, is roaming anywhere. You cannot capture that spirit. That's what happened to the Jews many times. Whenever they were in exile, they tried to break the Jewish spirit. And we always had something, when we held on to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we held on to our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we were unbreakable. However, as soon as we let go of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we simply crumbled, even if supposedly we are free. The difference between the two is that the first one is, or the second one, this is the person whose mind is free, is a person who is able to experience redemption. And the other one, the one who is the complainer, call it, lives in exile. And two people can have the same experience of life, to go through the same thing in life, and their perspective of that will be 180 degrees apart from each other. The key to this freedom, you should know, is in the hands of each and every one of us. We all hold the key. It's just a matter of how we think. It's how you use that chip into your silicon chip inside your head. The switch to overload. You know where's it from? Don't Like Monday of the Boomtown Rats. You were a kid. You weren't even born. But that's what we are. It's whichever chip we put in our hands. We have it. But you decide to be like that. You could be a big believer. You could understand that, but you choose not to. That the fact of whether to be a slave or to be free, it all depends on your free choice, on what you decide to do, on how you decide to experience. I told you, things are things. They're only good or bad if you interpret them as good or bad. They're things. Experiences are experiences. You just chose to experience them or to interpret them as bad. There's always good in it. You choose not to see it. I told you a million times. A guy gets fired from the job. He's very sad, right? So he's depressed. What should he do? What should he do? So he goes, he looks for a job. He looks for a job, he gets a job. A few months later, they close out the whole factory, they close the whole company, everybody's now out on the market, everybody's looking for a job, and you already have a job, you're ahead of the game. So it was a good thing you were fired or a bad thing you were fired. You keep on fighting it, but the HaKadosh Baruch Hu tried to help you. You chose it to see that it was bad, and you made it bad. You operate according to what you want it to be. As we say in the Gemara, למקום שאדם רוצה ללכת, מוליכים אותו. הקדוש ברוך הוא would lead you to wherever you want to be led. In other words, the total experience of your life will be determined on what you want it to be. And this is a matter of what we call hashkafa, an outlook of life. What's your outlook on life? If you're a negative person, and, so that's how it's going to be. Sometimes people are not negative to begin with. They just want people to feel bad for them. They want some people to have mercy or to comfort them. Listen, that belongs in the crib with your mommy, and change the diaper kind of a thing. That's it. No, if you want attention from people, create some positive energy around you. People would look at you. People will gravitate towards you and so on and so forth. If you are just sitting there moping, and there are people who deliberately mope, the mops, they're not mopes. That's what they do all the time. They cry a river of tears because they just want attention. You can have attention. So listen, what I accomplished today, what I've done today, and so on and so forth. That's how you look. For a person who is positive, his hashkafa, his outlook in life, that there is a God out there, and he decides what he does, and that's it. For the person who doesn't, he needs miracles. He comes to God with a list. He has a shopping list, requests. And that's why his emunah is lacking. Talking about emunah and avodah, and this is, by the way, something that we deal with until today, all of us. We all are in a certain mental exile that we don't want to break free. And the Zohar is very interesting about it. The Zohar refers to the three words that the Egyptians, to show how the Egyptians oppressed the Jews. It says in Avodah Kasha bechomer ubelevenim. Avodah kasha. Okay, chomer will be the chomriut. One of the ways to torture the Jews, they made it materialistic. Chomer, materialistic. They broke the spirit of the Jew. How? They made it materialistic. Simple as that. But what is avodah kasha? Hard work. Avodah kasha, the Zohar says, comes from the word kasher mishun kushiyot. Kushiyot. Kushiyot is what? Like we have kushiyot, we have questions. We have questions. Why is that? Where was God in here? Where was God in the Holocaust? I heard some horrible things. Some bright light said that there were only 1 million Jews in the Holocaust because the other one were not Jewish. This is, excuse me, a moron. Terrible. Terrible to say such a thing. I was very angry. My son showed it to me today. I was angry. I was angry. And I understand what Daniel was saying. I was angry. So we have a lot of questions. Why is the word so difficult? Why I don't have what I want? Why my neighbor is more successful? Why my brother is more successful? Why my wife doesn't understand me? Why my kids don't do what I say? Why I don't make enough money? Why I can hardly finish the month? I don't know. I don't have a moment of time for myself. Why is that? I have to work so hard. All these questions that we have make our life miserable. We have a lot of questions to life and basically take away all the positiveness or the positive energy that is inside of us. That energy that helps us create, and the energy that helps us to become joyful and to experience blissful life. It takes away from it. Negativity buries it all inside. And many people feel that they are used, that they're not well appreciated, whether it's at work, by their relatives, by their family, and so on and so forth. They feel that they chose the wrong spouse. when they were young. They concerned about their mortgage, about the bills. Many people feel that they live life parallel to their lives, not actually living life. Life is passing them by, but they're not living their lives. It's passing by. That you miss the essence of life, which in a way takes away your willingness to live. And some people would even commit suicide because of that. Or commit spiritual suicide because of that. And that, of course, weakens you. And this all comes from one thing, a choser emunah, lack of emunah. Lack of emunah that there is really a God out there that created this world, which manages this business that we call the universe in a perfection that is way above and beyond and beyond and beyond the most accurate Swiss clock. Perfect. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the world operates in a perfection. We are the one who mess it up, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs it perfect. Perfect. And we don't want to understand that. And we don't want to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. He really wants the best for us. He really wants the best for us. If we would understand internally, at 100%, on the statement we just made, we would never, ever experience one split of a second of frustration, of fear, of confusion. We are confused and we are scared because we forget that there is God who runs this world. Chazal says the following: En simcha ke'atarat hasfekot. The greatest joy is to remove all the doubts. When you have no doubts, you're happy. When a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs his life according to the best plan suited for him, even if at this particular moment you don't really understand that, if you understand it, you'll calm. You'll calm down. Your mind will calm down. Your spirit will be elevated. And your mind will be able to be freed from this enslavement in which you yourself had put your mind in. You're all slaves to your own jail in which you had put yourself in. And we call it the Yetzer Hara, but it's not, it's you. And then you're able to do real Avodat Hashem, because then you're going to be happy, and then you'll be able to fulfill the requirement of if do it Hashem b'simcha. Serve Hashem with joy. Serve Hashem with happiness. And don't forget that when you are not happy and when you're not free, you're lacking in serving Hashem. And that's a very bad thing to do. And again, this is all comes from the understanding that God is God. He is God, the one and only, and He is the truth. He was, He is, and He will be. Shabbat Shalom.